Hey, I'm GXXShock, here for inStarCraft at Gamescom 2012, at 2013 it's now, and with me is RotterdaM for Team Root. RotterdaM. How are you doing today?
I'm really tired for some reason. I think the jet lag kind of came into play, and I woke up with a little bit of a cold. I haven't eaten much, and I've been living on energy drinks for the entire month, and I don't think my body is enjoying it. But other than that, I'm actually having a really good time. This has been the fourth or third time at Gamescom, but it's been the most fun time by far. I'm really having a good time. The games are amazing. So despite having a small cold and being a little bit exhausted, I'm doing great.
And have you been enjoying Gamescom so far, or only been at the WCS stage and while doing work for ESL?
Despite really loving games, I'm actually quite stubborn these days when it comes to gaming. I'm also kind of afraid I put too much time into games that, as silly as may sound, are not really worth it for me. Like, if I would feel really confident with my level of skill in StarCraft and I get all my work done at the office, then I would like to sit down and play some other games. But I feel I can get a lot better as a player, so I don't really want to start playing different games because work is #1 priority, and then I can have some fun. So to answer your question, no, I haven't walked around, and I also don't really care right now, even though maybe later I buy a PlayStation 4 and play some brainless games, but for now only WCS.
Nothing actually where you actually sink work into, just casual games, I guess. So WCS has been going on for 2 seasons now, and Blizzard is actually considering revamping the system after BlizzCon and implementing some changes. What changes would you like to see?
How do you know that?
Talk to Blizzard?
Well, that's why you talk to Blizzard doesn't mean that I can talk about it in public. What I can tell you is that Blizzard is really active in reaching out to very prominent people in the community, and I'm not talking about myself, but just like all the team leaders, all the major partners, and also casters, also players, and they're trying to gather as much information as possible in trying to make everyone happy. Blizzard is getting a hard time from the community from time to time, and maybe some decisions were not the right decisions, but imagine a world where there wouldn't be WCS and Blizzard wouldn't give us this support. Our scene would be pretty still, and people who think that, like, oh, it would be still amazing with all these MLGs, no, they're wrong. Like, that's not how it works. WCS can get a lot better, and there are definitely a couple of changes I would like to see them do, but I'm not really going to talk about it because I already gave my opinion to Blizzard. One of the things I do think is important that it gets a little more transparent, maybe a little easier to follow, make the storyline a little better. There are a couple of other changes here and there, but I actually really like WCS. And if you look at the daily numbers, I mean, okay, StarCraft is not League, but if you compare it to like an old regular season, like MLG's daily content or old NASL seasons, WCS is crushing these numbers. So WCS is doing something right, but we're going to make it even better. And I would make it a little easier to follow, adjust the storyline a little bit. But other than that, I kind of like WCS, to be honest.
You just talked briefly about NASL. How do you like it? Well, actually getting content again. I mean, NASL was on a short break, and well, you finally got WCS. How's it working out for you?
It's great, because there were a few months when I went to the office and the only thing we did was produce a talk show, and we did put a lot of work into it, so we had a lot of assets, and the talk show was almost like TV level. I felt like we were doing a lot of stuff right, but at the end of the day I was like, fuck, this is fun, but I didn't come here for this. I love to cast StarCraft, and I love to talk about StarCraft, I love to follow StarCraft, and I was actually really getting kind of worried that I was going to have to find something else, because I can show up to my office and maybe produce a little talk show and have a lot of free time and play games, but as silly as it sounds, I love my job, I love to work. If you send me to the office for 4 months and I'm not casting a single game of StarCraft, I'm really unhappy. So I'm freaking happy that we're doing WCS right now, and it's been a lot of fun working on it and spending my time in WCS.
Will you stay with WCS, or will you guys continue with NASL eventually?
Right now I think it's very obvious there's no room for something like NASL that just doesn't work out. The numbers wouldn't be there. Also, for us as the company, we don't have that many people that we can produce a World of Tanks League and WCS. Like, we did a little 50-50 together with Blizzard last season at WCS, but eventually in 2014 and even parts of 2013, it's all going to have to be us. Like, we're going to have to produce everything, so we're going to have to get ready for that, and that's going to be more than enough work. There's no way we can produce a regular NASL.
How do you feel about the, well, kind of a short number of foreigners in the North American League?
It's a shame on the one hand. On the other hand, that's the way it is. Like, I do think that it would be worth looking into changing something like that as well, but I wouldn't go for a full hard regional lock and say like, oh, you need to have a password to live in this region, because sure, that would be pretty amazing for 6-7 guys who are indeed good players and they're going to win a lot of money, but you're not going to tell me that you're going to be interested in all 32 players in the North American Premier League. Even if people say they are right now, they will not. Like, the daily numbers are going to drop a lot, and yeah, like a hard regional lock is not an option, but there could be a softer regional lock. You could be like, hey, as soon as Premier League start, you're going to have to stay in this country, you're going to have to play on this ladder. That's something that I would really like, because I think that would encourage a lot of North American players. Yeah, other things I don't really want to say too much about it, other than the fact that I do think there are a couple of people in the North American scene, and I'm not going to give names, but I feel they complain way too much, like way too much. If I look back at our old Warcraft 3 days, I would wish for half the opportunities that they have right now. And we didn't complain, we were having fun, and if we were able to go to WCG or ESWC, it was cool, but we were putting in pretty much the same amount of time as they're putting in right now. And still there are options to stream, there are still online tournaments, there's still going to be an IEM in your country, and there is still WCS. It's not like there's nothing. But you have people who have like 55 to 60% win ratios on NA, barely. They're like top 50 GM, and they say like, oh my god, I can't practice anywhere, what is this? Like, I need to move to Korea, or I just can't keep up with all these Koreans because, you know, there's no one good in this region. It's like, bro, you have 100 wins and 85 losses. You are not dominating this region. Like, if you go 150 and 10, well, then you lose against the Koreans, okay, then you have a really valid point, then NA is not giving you the practice that you need. But I think a couple of people are hurting the scene more than that they're helping.
And do you have any specific ideas to foster the scene and help it grow, to kind of grow newcomers?
I mean, if we would implement it in a way that, I mean, at the end of the day, StarCraft 2 is not an easy game, and that's just the way it is. It's not a game that we can make really noob friendly. It's like, hey man, if you're going to practice this game for 2 hours a day, every now and then when you have some free time, you're going to be a top player, you're going to make money. It just doesn't work like that. RTS is really hard on the highest competitive level, and you know, if you want to mess with the best, you're going to have to put in an insane amount of time. I think that WCS is a good stepping stone, but yeah, I would indeed, because there are a couple of people in North America who are kind of dominating the ladder, who are like rank 5, rank 10, and they are still not cutting it in WCS America. And that's not because they don't try, that is indeed because they don't really get the practice they're looking for. And I really think it would help a lot if the Koreans that are coming to America would stay a while in the North American region and practice with those guys, because I think that's going to help out overall. I think that is something that could help the scene overall. About absolute newcomers, you know, it's hard. There are a few daily tournaments here and there, but at the end of the day, if you are not dominating your ladder, you can hardly imagine pro teams sending you to tournaments that they're going to have a lot of costs. For what? Like, I was stunned by the amount of people that were sent to those MLG tournaments in 2011, 2012. And to be honest, if I was running a team, I would have never done that, because you're sending people who are going to finish top 40 at best. And it's just like, yeah, they're going to have a really good time, but this is not sustainable, you know, it just doesn't work like that. And I think that if we have some more online tournaments, if we make it that you can compete with really, like, overall the ladder has to be good. And I would really personally, I would love to see something like automated Battle.net tournaments. I think that would help the scene tremendously, because I remember in Warcraft 3 when I was a little newbie and I started playing these online tournaments and I went 7-0 in my placements. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna play SK Dominator, this is amazing, and I lost, but I was fucking pumped to play the next 1v1 tournament. So, you know, I would love to see stuff like that, even when there's no prize money. If you're not amazing, I don't think you have to focus on prize money, you have to focus on getting better. I definitely think we can do a lot in helping the scene like that, but other than that, you know, it's not all that bad.
Heart of the Swarm was announced, or actually playable last year, exactly at Gamescom 2012. What do you think? What do you think still needs to change, and what are some of the things you like with Heart of the Swarm, and what could be improved upon?
Difficult question. I have to think about that before I say something, because to be honest, I actually really like the game. I feel that as a player I have a really hard time keeping up, and I notice every day when I go to events for 2 weeks and I come back, it's like, fuck, I used to crush these guys and now they're crushing me. It's just like, I have to do so much. I feel the skill cap is really high. I see the way that PvZ is supposed to be played, yet I cannot copy it because it is hard, man. So I think it's a really good thing that the game is that hard. I enjoy playing it a lot. I think balance-wise we're really heading into the right direction. I would love to see higher rotation in the maps. Like, you know, we're still playing kind of old maps every now and then. I really think that 6 months should kind of be the limit on the map, and then after that, you know, maybe 9 months, but definitely not a year. Like, that's just getting too long. Other than that, you know, I kind of like Heart of the Swarm, man, and I really like the direction that the game is heading into.
Talking about maps, how do you feel that maps are kind of similar? Flash has said, well, I don't actually train for different maps, they're all the same to me. Do you think we should implement different maps that are really different, like not 4-player maps and, well, maybe different layouts like we had in the beginning, like Scrap Station, Steps of War and something like that?
Yeah, I can understand that Flash would say something like that. I'm not sure if I would necessarily agree. Then again, I will look like an idiot for disagreeing with Flash because he's a god of RTS and I'm just your average Joe. But you know, when I just started playing StarCraft 2 as well, in Warcraft 3 I was really picky about my maps. I was an Orc player, for people who don't know. I was like, alright, Gnollwood or Secret Valley, Lost Temple, Maelstrom, those are my maps. I like Turtle Rock too, I was horrible at some other maps. In StarCraft 2 it's always been like, you know, sometimes I win on this map, sometimes I lose on this map. Unless the map is really bad for my race, I kind of don't really have like a specific preference either. And then I started to think like, why is that? But then I also realized the more I talk with players that are better than me, that they do have that. But yeah, I do agree that we can go more crazy. I feel that a lot of the map designs are a little safe, you know, like we know what you want to save natural and kind of save dirt, and then the 4 just do something with it. I would love to see stuff a little crazy. I guess people in general are afraid to create imbalanced maps, but yeah, I do think that Flash has a point in which that we're kind of safe, and it wouldn't be too bad if we go a little nuts and see how that goes.
Do you think there's a way to actually get to take a look at balance, like the balance map, for example, that Blizzard puts out every once in a while, and that let pros actually train on it and kind of go nuts with the game, like change core gameplay mechanics without hurting the actual pro players that make money of it?
Well, I mean, they do always reach out to the pros and ask about feedback for balance. The only issue is that a lot of people are not very biased. Even like the top guys, like I have heard from David Kim that a couple of the absolute top Korean players, at a certain point they were just joking with him, and he was like, guys, I'm trying to be serious. And like even a lot of the foreigners, like I love my foreign scene, but the majority of the pro gamers is pretty whiny, and you know, I was the same, so I'm not saying that I was anything better. So it's kind of hard, but they do reach out for feedback. Yeah, like getting a balance map out there and see how it goes. It's a good idea, but it also slows down the process overall and making changes.
Talking about Heart of the Swarm again and some of the changes, we had the resume from replay feature as a way to train, and do you know if pros actually use that a lot to skip the early game, for example?
I haven't heard that much about it actually, that like too many pros are really training like that, but I definitely think there are a few guys out there here and there who's like, alright, I died to this push, you know, let's say Immortal Century, alright, 8-minute mark, let's do it again, 8-minute mark, let's do it again. I'm sure that it happened, you know. Me personally, I've did it a few times as well, but then mostly my late game army control against Terran, I felt it wasn't that good. So it's just like, alright, we're 200, we both have a lot of goals, I have a lot of high templates, let's go for it. So if someone like me does it, I can only imagine that some pros are using it as well. But I've not seen someone stream it, for instance. But you know, streaming is for entertainment, streaming is a good way to connect with your fans, and it's a good way to make some extra money. But I feel if you're prepping serious for a tournament, you don't want to stream that kind of practice because you're giving away too much.
Blizzard and also the people behind GameHeart have implemented some changes into the way that observing works, and they implemented zooming out, they implemented units lost. What are some other features you would like to see implemented into the game?
A while ago I sent my feedback to Blizzard as well about that, like a few things that I wanted. We asked for zooming out a long time, so I think it's an awesome feature. I think it's really cool. One of the things, there's like one little statistic that I still miss, and that is like we have units resources lost, which I think is obviously a very important tab, but I want to see units resources gathered as well, so I can see, alright, like he has lost 4,000 more, but how much have they actually mined? Because if he has mined 7,000 more and he's lost 4,000 more, that's still kind of good for him, you know. So I told him this in the past as well, and actually last time I think I forgot to give my feedback on it. If I would have to give one final statistic, I want to see how much the people, players have mined, the amount of minerals and the amount of gas, and that's about it. Other than that, I would love our observer interface. Like I couldn't have dreamed of something like this when StarCraft 2 just came out. You know, it's kind of the same as Warcraft 3, and we're like, oh yeah, cool. And then we started making some overlays for ourselves, and we're like, oh cool. And then suddenly Blizzard comes out with all these tabs. It's like, oh, I love you, Blizzard.
All right, thank you for the interview. Would you like to give any shout-outs to your team or sponsors?
Of course, shout out to the guys from Root, even though I haven't been too active with them because I'm just traveling a lot, and every time I really want to sit down and make myself a better player, something comes in between, but I do really like those guys, and I wish them always the best. Of course, much love to my company, the North American Star League, or Hero Level Production, either works. And much love to the community. You know, sometimes we are skeptical about our own community, but I think at the end of the day, and even meeting all the fans here, I think the RTS community is fucking amazing, and I would never want to leave it. You know, it's been almost 10 years for me now, and I hope it's going to be another 10 because it's just so much fun interacting with the game. And you know, for me, and I know for many people out there, RTS is the most beautiful form of computer games. So, yeah, much love to the entire community.
Cheers to that. All right.